In Ottawa, behind closed doors, a conversation is happening that could reshape Canada's economic and environmental future. A conversation about a pipeline for the Pacific, a concept many, including me, thought was finished. And yet, the names of the participants is raising eyebrows. Those dignitaries are Prime Minister Mark Carney and the premiers of Alberta and Saskatchewan. Conspicuously absent is David Eby, the Premier of British Columbia, the very province this theoretical pipeline would run through. This is more than a discussion about infrastructure. It is a fundamental test of promises made, political alliances, and who holds the power to chart Canada's course. In this video, we will illuminate this high-stakes gamble in three parts. First, a table set for three. The political and economic force driving those secret talks. Second, the uninvited guests, the profound risk for British Columbia and the foundation of its economy. And third, the promise and the price, the conflict question of reconciliation, sovereignty, and what Canada stands to gain or lose. It's a blueprint for a new energy corridor being drafted. But the people who live on the land are not in the room. Or is this all just a ruse? And for what reason? At this point, who the hell really knows? The push is being led by Alberta's Premier Daniel Smith, who argues that the world needs more oil for decades and Canada must do its share. Her vision is a new pipeline to the coast of northern BC. A multi-billion-dollar project she claims is vital for national prosperity. And she's not alone. Saskatchewan's Premier Scott Moe has confirmed his support and his seat at the table. This revelation has reportedly left BC's Premier David Eby stunned. For the federal government, the calculus is complex. In the face of US trade aggressions, the appeal of diversifying Canada's energy market is powerful. The possible deal reportedly involves trade-offs. Alberta committing carbon capture and industrial pricing. In return, the federal government considers exemptions to the suspension on oil tanker traffic off BC's northern coast. And that is precisely one of the main problems. I will come to that in just a moment. So political negotiations is happening. But it is happening in a vacuum, excluding the jurisdiction that is most affected by it. As Premier Eby pointedly asked, why is the focus on a hypothetically new pipeline when the publicly owned Trans Mountain pipeline is not even at capacity and could be optimized to move more product right now? If you ask me, that is a total legitimate question. Why paying for something you already have? The question hangs in the air, unanswered. Is this about economic necessity or political legacy? For British Columbia, the secret talks are not an abstract political debate. They are a direct threat to a delicate and hard-won economic foundation. Keep in mind, British Columbia is not opposed to all the developments. In fact, we have 4 times more major projects underway than any other province. From the historic $1.7 billion in economic activities along the coast, to the possibility for the largest private investment in Canadian history, with LG Canada Phase 2. British Columbia is booming. But all of this relies on a fragile consensus. Will the coastal First Nations, who have stewarded those waters for millennia, tolerate this economic activity precisely because of the federal tanker ban. This ban is the guarantee that protects their way of life from the catastrophic risk of a heavy oil spill in some of the world's most dangerous waters. Creating an exemption to that federal tanker ban, even a limited one, could be seen as a fundamental betrayal on our coastal First Nations. It puts the trust that makes all other developments possible at risk. The frustration in Victoria is palpable. BC is delivering jobs and prosperity for the entire country, and yet it feels it is being undermined by a backroom deal that seems to make little to no economic sense and comes with immense environmental and political risk. This leads us to the most difficult question of all. A question that strikes at the heart of the federal government's own promises. Just a couple of weeks ago, Prime Minister Mark Carney has made reconciliation with Indigenous peoples a center pillar of his leadership. He has spoken of respect, partnership, and a new era of relations. So, how does one reconcile such a solemn commitment with secretly discussing a project that would force increased tanker traffic onto the coast of First Nations communities, onto the very people who are vehemently opposed to this? I see this as not merely philosophical but brutally practical. Public opinion in BC has shifted, with 56% national supporting a pipeline. But that support is conditional. It hinges on First Nations approval. And when it comes to lifting the tanker ban, only 22% of British Columbians are in favor. The way I see it, 22% is clearly not a majority. But add the First Nations to the list and it gains dramatic weight. The path forward for any leader is tense. For Prime Minister Eby, he must defend his province interests without being seen as an obstructionist. For Premier Smith, she must convince a skeptical province of a project no private company will touch, at least not at the moment. A project that, accordingly to David Eby, is fake, does not exist, has no foundation. And for Prime Minister Carney, he must navigate between a desired energy accord and a promise of reconciliation that appears to be hanging in the balance. To be absolutely clear, there is not one of Mark Carney's major projects, a list we all have celebrated, that if it touches the interest of First Nations, that is not in danger of being cancelled. In my humble opinion, it is not so important when Mark Carney will think the time is right to talk with David Eby. I'm sure Mark Carney has a clear vision about this project already. So he will have some conversations about the pipeline with Eby, clearly. But more important is how much the pipeline will affect our coastal First Nations and how do we square this proverbial circle. And don't forget, there is also the question, does this project actually has a chance to become one? It is actually real. At this point, no matter where I look, no one really knows. The secret pipeline talk have exposed a deep crack in the Canadian Federation. They reveal a federal government committed to make Canadians' economy more prosperous than it ever was. Prairie provinces hungry for market access. And a West Coast province feeling its sovereignty and success are being ignored. But above all, they poses a defining challenge to Canadians' consciousness. Is our economic future that can only be built in partnership with Indigenous people, respecting their title and their rights? Or are those very promises negotiable when a more convenient price appears on the table? Have we become suddenly so transactional as Trump's America is? The conversation has started without British Columbia and without the First Nations, but it cannot conclude without them. The cost of ignoring them is not just a pipeline, it is the very trust and unity Canada needs to navigate an uncertain world. The blueprint is on the table and the decision will define us. What do you think about Smith's pipeline? What do you think about Smith's pipeline? Is it real? Would it be beneficial to us? Does it even have a chance? Please let me know in the comments below. If this video gave you value, then please click the link and subscribe button. It really helps the channel. And if you like this channel's deep dives, ring the bell so you won't miss my next one. Thanks for watching. I'm Wilfried Lemkuler from Europe Curious.
We spent so many nights thinking how you did us wrong. Now we've banded all together. Your tariff made us strong, and so you know you're not so great. There's not a snowball's chance in hell will be your 51st state. We really need our resources for more than we need you, so now just go. Walk out the door. We do not need you. You're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who instigated these trade fights? You'll soon grow to regret it when we turn off your lights. We will survive. As long as we can think and work, we know we'll stay alive. We have all we really need. We can live without your greed. We will survive. We will survive. There's been a shame. It's time anew. We're not that fledgling little country stealing all of you. We are now a nation proud that is happy to be free. You didn't realize you gave us our own identity, so now just go. We will survive. As long as we can think and work, we know we'll stay alive. Yeah, but all we really need, we can live without your greed. We will survive. We will survive. We will survive.
51st state, my fucking ass. Go on, Canada.